Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Not Your Average Joel. So, today we are on episode 47. We are coming to a close on season two. After this, I have three more episodes that will be coming out, and season two has been going amazing. A lot of great people have been on here, a lot of past guests, and a bunch of new guests have been on here as well. Which, speaking of new guests, we have a new guest here today. This is Chris Kelly. It's weird. I don't call him just Chris. I call him Chris Kelly. I guess because I know so many Chris's. But I've known Chris for over 10 years. I think probably even like 11 years. We actually met crazily. We met the day after I graduated from high school. We met through mutual friends. We met at a bowling alley here in the Birmingham area. And ever since then, we just kind of kept in contact with one another because like after that, then we saw each other at like orientation at the first college that we started going to, Jeff State, and then the rest was history. So we just met through mutual friends that we had at the time, and now here we are now. And it's been a few years since I've actually gotten to talk to him. We just had some busy things going on, and here we are now. And I'm glad that you're here. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having me. For sure. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Absolutely. So, before I tell everybody what this topic is about, I'm going to have Chris just briefly introduce himself, just tell everybody where he's living these days and what he does for a living, and if you go to school or not.
My name is Chris Kelly. I am 29 now. I I am an actor and I am serve at a restaurant. So the cliche lifestyle of an actor. Right now, I'm currently not going to school, but I am thinking about manipulating the free tuition that is in New Mexico because I do live in New Mexico as of 2 years about now. So I mean, the passage of time is like really weird for me right now. I'm actually going through that. But, and I know we talked about that a little bit earlier, but yeah, so I'm an actor, TV, film, and you can catch me on episode two, season two of The Cleaning Lady. That is the most recent. And Better Call Saul, the last season. I believe it's episode six, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. There's of course there's more, but um, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so yeah, when he says he's an actor, he is on these TV shows that people have heard of, like definitely Better Call Saul, I've definitely heard of. So definitely go check those out. Like, give our friend some support out there and all that. Every time when I see
Yes.
him posting like these clips, I'm like, come on, Hollywood. Like before you know it, hopefully you'll get up to that area, to where you are going to be in bigger roles and all that. But right now, these are big
Yes.
accomplishments getting into those roles too.
Yes. Yes. It's been a wild trip. Telling you, it's been wild. So
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Which, yes, though that kind of reminds me of a topic that viewers you will be looking out for at some point in the future. Me and Chris will be talking again about like Hollywood expectations or just like the life of like an actor and kind of like challenges that come with that. So definitely be sure to keep an eye out on that. But right now we are here to talk about another topic, which I will go ahead and tell everybody what we're talking about. So, we are going to be talking about our childhood. So, I think the reason why I want to talk about this is because, um, of course, everybody goes through this stage of life. Everybody has some challenges that happen in this area of life, but there are some good things that happen in this area of our life too, to where we start having these like nostalgic feelings of missing being a kid sometimes, especially when we're, both here. We're going to be 30 next year. Ugh. But the 30 is a new 20. But anyways, I think yeah, just going, talking about our childhood and like things that we went through, whether, good or bad, so I think that would be good. And hopefully viewers, you can relate to these times as well. And you're welcome to talk about your experience, whether on YouTube or on my Instagram page at Not Your Average Joel podcast. So, I have a few questions that I'm going to be asking Chris, and I will be giving my input as well. So, we are going to go ahead and get into this first question. So, nowadays, there is these kids are being brought up with like social media and technology, things that we weren't brought up with in the as far as the late 90s. I mean, like as far as like a phone and all of these other technologies in early 2000s. So with the social media and technology that is, around nowadays and growing, do you think that or do you wish that when you were a child that like you grew up in a time of social media and technology, or did you like growing up back before all of this technology got so big?
Um, Personally, I think the '90s was a very good time to be alive. It was a very good time, and I am a nostalgic person just in general. I know pretty much anybody that knows me knows that I have a cadence to, a lot of tributes to the '90s era. I wear a lot of '90s apparel, a lot of '90s gear. So I personally believe that the like if I had social media back then and if it was actually present, I just don't think that it would be the same kind of era. You know what I mean? The things that made the '90s unique and special um, is the lack of the social media and it is the lack of technology. I mean, I'm not saying that there was a big lack of technology, but the way that we've grown since the '90s in technology has been ridiculous. So I really do believe that in the '90s it was special because it was the '90s and it didn't have all those things. So I'm gonna say no to that because it's social media has so many like has a lot of good things going for it. Don't get me wrong; it has amazing tools that we can find out just by getting on our phones. But there goes the con of it as well. The It's almost too much information to, you know what I mean? Like as I mean, I remember getting on MapQuest just to find something. You know what I mean? Like you would MapQuest something, you wouldn't get on Google. It's like so easy and accessible now to find directions to anywhere. And like I said, there's pros to that, but there's also cons to having so much information to the point where I feel like it's building a toxic um, kind of relationship between people in the world because of social media and because you have hearsay she say he says kind of deal so yeah, social media, I don't know, I don't think that it would be the '90s if social media was this present back in the '90s.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like there's so much there's a lot of good things that come out of social media, but there's a lot of bad things too. Like I feel like with as far as like bullying goes, like I feel like that's been growing so much because you can nowadays you can just comment on people's photos or you can like DM people and you can just do all these different ways of tearing somebody down and making fun of somebody, or you can like be able to humiliate them by like through video or photos, or there's just so many like dark sides of social media that I feel like if I grew up during that time to where not only the people in my school see this but like the whole world is seeing these things on social media, I feel like that just takes things to a whole new level because like back in my middle school days I definitely was bullied. So I definitely like if I was in that time where people were recording me and that those times of being bullied and harassed and stuff like that, would I would definitely have a I don't know if I don't know, it would be very hard. I don't know if I would be as strong, you know, as I am today, like as far as overcoming those childhood, I guess wounds, we can say. So I guess I just feel like yeah, with bullying, I feel like it's on social media is taken to a whole new level because it gets presented to the whole world, and then also just it's just so. easy to bully on there. It's easier to type out, these things than to say something face to face to somebody, and tearing somebody down. So I definitely can see a lot of bad out of social media. Like if I was a kid growing up, just from what I'm seeing here on nowadays, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or even Twitter. Even I don't have Twitter, but like I hear about these crazy tweets out there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I mean, if you, I was actually like looking at a study on the subject of suicide, and they were saying like, Christmas is like the like around this time is about the highest, you know, that suicide rates is they go up during this time, basically. Um, so I think that while we all know what Christmas stands for a lot of people, we all know that, it's a time to be with your family, da 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 da. It's a time to do this, it's cheer and da da da, and gifts. And like, it's, don't get me wrong, that the initial, um, the concept of it is not a bad thing, but you have people who maybe don't have families. This is not known through, I mean, this is something that's been known for a long time, not just through like social media. So I think that, um, and there's also research and studies that go into depression, um, and social media and the connection with that. Well, here's the thing: you get on Facebook, you get on Twitter, you get on Instagram, you get on TikTok, and you see all these grandeur things, happening in these scenes of grandeur, and you think, oh, that person's life is XYZ, and you make your own assumptions based on that one video that you saw. That was probably staged and rehearsed, and you know, like a social media post is in the moment. In that moment, you capture that 30 seconds. You know what I mean? Like I could post a picture right now and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm, doing this, and that," and then post like, me doing quirky things and stuff like around the city, yada yada yada. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is cool. And there is pros to that, but once again, there is a dark side. And the fact is, some people will look at that, and they usually look at it when they feel depressed. They usually get on social media, and then you've got like this deeper sense of depression because, oh, look what that person's doing. Look what this person's doing. And then you make it seem like, the grass is always greener on the other side. And that's what social media kind of encompasses. Um, and so, not to go so much into social media and depression, but like that's also, I mean, going back to the subject of childhood, we didn't have that. So we couldn't see easily what other people were doing all the time, 25/8. Like it becomes a lot for a lot of people. And um, we just had a bit of a simpler time. You know what I mean? It was a definitely more of a simple time. And not saying like the 90s were the best for everybody, but it definitely didn't have that social media aspect that, you know, we're talking about here. So I definitely agree. It's definitely a lot of mental struggle that comes out of social media, and that is one of them. And I don't think that it helps anybody to see that you're, I don't know, in the Caribbean or something like that, and that, you know, it doesn't. Some things are just, it shouldn't be everybody's business. Not saying that shouldn't be, but I'm just saying with those images constantly coming up and the people that are vulnerable to depression and anxiety and all of those feelings of worthlessness and stuff, that doesn't help America as a whole, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely can see what you mean that like, we almost have an unrealistic like expect we give like an unrealistic expectation of like life basically when we post these kind of things on social media where like we catch just a moment, photo or like you were saying maybe a 30-second video out there, kind of making some memories. And then but then somebody on the other end may look at that and think like, well, I don't have family, or I may not have the finances to travel, or things like that, to where it may bring depression
Mm-hmm.
and these hard things out of that. And I could see even that, like even if I was a kid now, like looking at, let's just say if there was a kid in my grade that had a rich family that was able to travel and do all these things, and then here I am thinking like, I have a lot of siblings, so like we didn't really get to travel as much. Like we got to travel to Panama City Beach every year, but besides that, like every now and then we'll take like a little road trip to Atlanta or New Orleans or something like that. But as far as like
Mm-hmm.
a big trip, that didn't really get to happen for me during my childhood. But I think it's okay. I don't think, now I have a love for travel, and I get to do it on my own time, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was a kid, I think, yeah, things were a lot simpler, and I wasn't really too focused on the idea of like traveling really, besides going to the beach, every June or July. So that was definitely just having that simpler times of that. And then also, like, as far as technology, I started thinking of like the fun times, as far as like playing like Nintendo 64. That's like probably the first that's probably the first like game system that I had. Well, either that,
Mm-hmm.
or like I think we also had a PlayStation also, or PlayStation 2, I forget. But I remember just those good old simple days of just not even having to worry about social media, which that wasn't an option back then, but just having just getting to be a kid and getting to play video
Mm-hmm.
games with your siblings, and hopefully beating them at Mario Kart.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Love it. Rainbow Road, here we go. That movie is coming out, by the way, and I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forget that that is coming quick. So yeah, I'm
I am
definitely,
excited.
yeah, I'm excited to
My
see that.
childhood self is like the little kid is in me is literally like happier than ever. Like I swear, I'm so excited about that. I'm pumped. I'm gonna be pushing those little kids out of the way.
Yeah, the same here. I definitely can't wait to see it. I'm definitely excited to, kind of like you were saying, just bringing back those nostalgic memories. We got to play these things when we were kids, like Mario Party
Hmm.
and Mario Kart, and even like, Mario Golf. Even though now looking back at the graphics, when I go like look at a Nintendo 64 game, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like we have changed as far as how these video games look so realistic now.
Right? And it's just so funny because that's probably what we said a long time ago when Nintendo 64 was out. It was like, oh, look at these graphics. They're amazing. You got a little 8-bit, 64-bit Mario and Super Smash Brothers. It was good though. It was good.
Yeah, those were definitely the good old days for sure. But
Ay, ay.
one other thing that I wanted to mention right quick, I feel like even back then in the days, I didn't even have this in my question, but like as far as like television, I feel like there was just the shows, I feel like, were so much better in our childhood days. I feel like these shows that are on like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon or even Disney Channel, I feel like they're not even worth looking at anymore. But I feel like those shows back then were just so much more interesting and more I just I don't know, I just loved it.
I think honestly, we were a little bit wild in the 90s. Everything was a little unhinged. So, and this also goes with social media, and I'm not gonna go too much into this, but I really do feel like we're all like, and because of social media, I feel like everybody's trying to stay in this like one little box. Like everybody's like stuck in this little box, and they're trying to stay in that box. And we do have like, levels of uniqueness. We have, but I honestly do feel like there is almost like I feel like everybody's wearing uniforms right now because everybody's trying to stay in this invisible box that has all these different rules and standards. And if you say this, you're this, and if you say that, it's da da da. It In the strive to be unique, I feel like everybody is. not unique at all these days. And I I do blame social media. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I do blame social media, and I do blame the trends that are on TikTok and stuff like that. And it's almost like I just feel like we're repeating the same thing over and over again, and I just don't know if there's a sense of originality these days, um, because of that box, of that invisible box that we're kind of that we put ourselves in. That is completely psychological, by the way, completely mental, but it's based on the things that we ingest through social media. So I'm not going to get too much into that. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, but you make a really good point because that is very true that like with social media comes with the idea of like yeah, there's these trends that are out there and then you almost have to if you want
You
to
have to
be
follow
cool,
that.
yeah, if you want to be cool, you gotta do these kind of trends. You gotta fall into all of these different things that like people may not do if it weren't for social media. So like there's
Hmm.
a lot of expectations that come with that, and then like you were saying, it comes with a mind game. Basically, it's like a mental thing
Hmm.
to where you start thinking like, man, like I got to do all of this to stay relevant, basically, and
Hmm.
and that's just such a crazy expectation because the moment you don't do a trend like that, you're basically forgotten about. We are so forgetful nowadays that that like whenever somebody stops trying to stay with the modern day culture of social media, people think like, oh man, this person, where are they? Like, what's happening to them? Or sometimes I don't even ask that. Sometimes they just completely forget about them. And then when they show their face here like a few months later, they're like, oh yeah, like I forgot about this person. So I like
Hmm.
that we don't have to worry about the that kind of pressure when it came to that. Like we were probably more concerned about like who has the 64 pack of crayons, like and I want to
Yeah,
be friends with
exactly.
them.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Seriously, the 64 pack of Crayolas. Oh my gosh.
yeah, with the sharpener too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So yeah, we were concerned about that. And we were concerned about like, are you team Disney? Are you team Nickelodeon? Like, I'd rather go back to
Yeah,
those days. Like, or if you were
literally.
both. So like I love that. Or even like Cartoon Network, just thinking about watching like Dexter's Laboratory and like the Powerpuff
Hmm.
Girls. There's just so many like good shows out there. And these shows nowadays, I feel like they're not original, I feel like anymore. Like you were saying, I feel like the originality of shows and some movies, I feel like they're just all based off books, or they had to remake a movie that they already
Hmm.
remade like in the 90s. So I
Exactly. It's bad right now. It's bad right now.
yeah.
I
So
I will say the Adventures of Gumball though. Just saying, I'll throw that out there before you go on. But the Adventures of Gumball is hilarious. It is a newer show, cartoon on Cartoon Network, and they do make they make a lot of they make a lot of points that people don't think about, but they throw shade, like they throw shade at the culture. So it's yeah, that's all I got to say. That one was really funny.
yeah, I've heard of that. I've actually never seen it, but I have heard of that show.
It's
So
funny.
I guess to show that there are still some shows out there. It's probably maybe hard to find, but there's some of those hidden gems out there that are really good having like as far as shows and even movies. There is some originality, but I feel like a lot of it has definitely it's almost
Oh
scarce
yeah.
in a way just due to
Oh
like you
yeah.
were saying social media.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yes.
definitely don't miss those days for sure. But I definitely don't miss I wouldn't miss those days. I think I just said that wrong. I definitely would if I was a kid growing up in social media, I definitely feel like I'd be a whole different person. I feel like I'd be
Mm-hmm.
constantly seeking approval from people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would. It would not be good.
Yeah. So, I guess moving on into our next question. My next question is, Do you have friends from your childhood that you still keep up with to this day?
Yeah. I mean, I know you said it earlier, but yeah, I mean, we still talk from time to time. It's gotten very scarce, but I still talk to people that are from, I'd say, I don't even say my childhood, but I through social media, and here comes the pros of social media. I can continue to do that with some of my childhood friends. Um, so we do keep up every now and then, or just even like posting that kind of helps keep up with what my friends are doing. Because sometimes I just don't even say anything. I have a bad habit of just like disappearing. Um, so, and I think people have gotten that out of me. I think people already know that I just have these trends of me disappearing for a little bit. So I don't think anybody knocks me too hard on that. But um, yeah, I do keep up with a good amount of friends, especially from like that time that we met, like that whole time period. I keep up with a lot of people from on then the college days, like Jeff State, and it's so funny because I haven't heard Jeff State in so long. Then you mentioned it earlier, and I was like, oh boy. But yeah, through social media, like I said, there goes the pros of social media. I do keep up with quite a few of my friends, and it's so weird to like see how everybody's progressing. There's some people that, I mean, come on now. You remember back at Pinson, like some of those people just did not go through the best time at Pinson, but now they're doing great. So um yeah, I keep up with a few of them. Quite a few of them. I say more than I thought through social media.